Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to present our progress. As a reminder, Tarsier Pharma is developing the TRS, a new chemical entity with a disruptive mechanism of action, focusing mainly on blinding ocular diseases. And our first program, the TRS-01, is targeting a blockbuster potential and currently in a phase 3 clinical trials. The TRS is a conjugate of two active compounds, daphne and phosphorylcholine, that has a strong immunomodulatory synergistic effect. It is a multi-target molecule that affects the immune system by macrophage shift from M1 to M2, by inhibition of the NF-kappa B cascade through toll-like receptor 4, its affinity to ACE2 reduce its activity, and its affinity to neuropilin-1 reduce the activity of the VEGF. And this, while it is well known that macrophages do play a key role in the pathophysiology of non-infectious uveitis, the four-mentioned targets are active at the processes leads to diabetic-related ocular diseases. And this is why we are developing the TRS in two routes of administration, IVT and eye drops. Our first program is the TRS-01. It's an eye drop formulation for the treatment of non-infectious anterior uveitis and specifically uveitic glaucoma. If approved, this is going to be the first FDA-approved treatment for this indication. And with a line of sight of potential positive phase 3 readouts during 2023, it's time to revisit what a market potential for uveitic glaucoma may look like. Stepping back 2 years ago to the launch of Tepezza, like uveitic glaucoma, thyroid eye disease was a greenfield and unsophisticated and undertreated indication without much hope for patients. However, as you know, Tepezza is the 5th blockbuster drug in ophthalmology. So what is uveitic glaucoma? Uveitic glaucoma is the end stage of uveitis, a chronic, blinding, recurrent inflammation of the eye. 2/3 of patients eventually will end up with severe visual impairment, and uveitis is responsible for 10 to 15% of all cases of blindness. On the left image, you can see a representation of active flare-up of uveitis, where inflammatory cells invading the eye, and only steroids can treat this active flare-up. Steroids will then increase the intraocular pressure that leads to glaucoma, and in the next flare-up, more steroids are required, and we are entering a vicious cycle that leads to blindness. The TRS-01, we hope, will be able to stop this vicious cycle, and therefore this is our first indication targeting around 120,000 patients in the US. During 2020, we conducted our Godot trial, a phase 2 randomized double-blind dose-ranging trial to test the efficacy and safety of the TRS-01 in patients with non-infectious anterior uveitis and uveitic glaucoma. Results showed a robust statistical significant dose response in resolution of inflammation, where 70% of the eyes reached zero inflammation after 4 weeks of treatment. On the left from the literature, you can see that steroids, the standard of care, only 60% of patients after 4 weeks of treatment will reach this level of inflammation resolution. From the Godot trial, we also learned that we have a favorable safety profile without serious adverse events or drug-related adverse events. We had very potent and fast-acting drug in terms of inflammation resolution, improvement of visual acuity in a statistical significant dose response, prompt pain resolution, and the bonus, no intraocular pressure elevation. With that, we concluded that the TRS-01 demonstrated steroids-like efficacy without the associated side effect. Green-lighted by the FDA, we are currently in the midst of our phase 3 clinical trial, the TRS for vision, double-blind, randomized, active control. We are randomizing patients at all age groups, including kids. Our youngest is a 7-year-old boy here in the States. The trial design is a non-inferiority to steroids due to the critical need for a treatment that is not elevating intraocular pressure for the uveitic glaucoma patient population. We are pleased and privileged to work with key opinion leaders in uveitis across US and Europe and their professional teams. Moving to our pipeline, we are also developing the TRS as a IVT, and we met with the FDA regarding our clinical strategy and got their green light in a pre-IND meeting. We are targeting a posterior segment blinding diseases such as posterior uveitis, but also diabetic-related ocular diseases and dry AMD. And recently, we completed the development of the TRS-02, which is a slow-release proprietary biodegradable formulation of TRS that found to have a favorable safety profile. And this is the first time I'm presenting this data, but you can see that our release profile met our target product profile as we wanted, which is similar to the Ozurdex release profile, a dexamethasone implant already approved for diabetic macular edema. Encouraged by those results, we are gearing up toward IND-enabling studies. To summarize, we are developing the TRS. It's a new chemical entity with a disruptive mechanism of action in 2 routes of administration, IVT and eye drops. Our near-term drivers are the phase 3 readouts in the middle of next year, hopefully, and the first in human with our TRS-02 program, addressing 70 years of lack of innovation for those indications. Our first program, the TRS-01, is targeting a blockbuster potential with a very attractive commercialization strategy and protected by multiple patents, including a composition of matter, very strong patent, up until 2034 and more. As we are building a global ophthalmic company focusing merely in saving sight, our board of directors and the management team of the company have more than 100 years of accumulative executive experience in the field. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to take questions after the session.